Welcome, Dr. Russell Jaffe from the US. It's a great pleasure and honor to welcome you. We have yesterday a very successful conference. We have many topics. Topics were so-called high-tech acupuncture and mainly the topics on herbal medicine, on traditional medicine, and in the afternoon we heard some lectures about different alternative methods, for example manual therapy. So we are very excited and we are looking forward to a presentation from you, and thank you very much and greetings from Beijing and also from Austria, from my country, to you, to Singapore. Thank you very much.
Important conference. We at the Collegium will rethink health from the perspective of function and from the perspective of predictive, individual and significant biomarkers. It's my privilege today to discuss briefly an emerging area, high sensitivity predictive biomarkers. But first, the next slide, first, a bit about me. First, my gratitude to all of you for attending. My gratitude for all of you for doing the important work that you do so that we together can speed the transition from the current focus on symptoms and sim care to our new focus on high-level health and valuing the quantifiable evidence-based approaches that the primary prevention, a primary policy. My background is internal medicine and biochemistry. I have the privilege of helping found the Certified Clinical Nutritionist Training Program in the United States. And I want to add my greetings from the United States to Professor Gerhardt from Austria, and to all of you who have come from near and far to attend this meeting. As you can see from the initials by my name, I maintain a fellow's status as a clinical pathologist, as a clinical nutritionist, as a clinical immunologist, and now I'm also a methodologist and oversees the Royal Society of Medicine. I am founder and chairman of PERC Integrated Health, NASDAQ Biotechnologies, and RJHRX, who leads our biotechnology initiatives that work in the area of natural products, diagnostics, and prescription therapeutics. So with that bit of introduction, I am very appreciative of the opportunity to share this work with you, and especially under these high-tech, but I also have high-tech conditions. And if we can see the next slide, we'll get to the concept. So here we have the next big thing. And in the news very often we're looking for what is the next big thing. And I think predictive biomarkers are ready to take their place, and specifically the high sensitivity versions, because in order to qualify as a predictive biomarker, the test must have been done on all ethnic groups, in all geographies, no socioeconomic groups, and we must know the predictive significance at 10 years. Next one. So, predictive biomarkers then give us useful and clinically actionable information about epigenetics. Tells us much more about how the environment and the individual interact, not so much about the genetic profile, but how the epigenetic modulation is occurring. Predictive biomarkers cover metabolomics and microbiology. inclusive even than our earlier concepts of metabolism and digestion. Next. So, high sensitivity predictive biomarkers will allow us to more accurately assess all causes at 10 years of morbidity and mortality. And we have the advantage that if we want to compare any therapy with a second therapy, high sensitivity predictive biomarkers are independent. They are, if you will, agnostic. They are simply what they are, high precision tests that predict survival at 10 years, and they are useful in the aggregate, in the group of them, to measure whether one therapy is superior to another. And they are therapeutic biomarkers. So if I have an individual sitting in front of me, and they have representative low value, then I allow them to celebrate their probability of living 10 years is greater than 99%. On the other hand, if their values are not at their goal value, we want to take action, and we want to be able to return within a matter of a few weeks to months, so that in that short period of time, if the right action has been taken, then we can add years of life and quality of life to their survival. Next. Now here's an interesting chart, and what we see is that on average, a person gains until they're in life of 40, and then there's a slow and not inexorable decline. But that's only the average. Let's look more deeply as scientists. Chronic ill health, of course, can cause us to age more quickly, and too many people today are functioning older, not younger, than their birth date. And on the other hand, you can't have a group, and I study this group in particular, that maintains through their entire lifespan a high level of health, so in essence they function as a 30-year-old for the remainder of their lives. And there's a subgroup, the people who got sick and got well, and I am particularly interested in those who maintain a high level of health, then have a health challenge, and finally overcome it to restore themselves to a lifetime of quality health at no cost and no suffering. Next. These slides are coming to you from Virginia, while I am still kind of more in Beijing, and we're very pleased to be able to do this. Now, high sensitivity predictive biomarkers, and we can abbreviate that HSPB, high sensitivity predictive biomarkers, they're personalized, they're individual, they're evidence-based and scientific, and they allow us to compare an individual with themselves over time and with groups of individuals to compare therapy. Now, when we mention early, we can focus on one. And if we start in the upper right with the orange box, we see HSCRP, and we may be familiar with the high sensitivity C-reactive protein, a measure of inflammation or repair deficit. Then there's high sensitivity homocysteine, a measure of methylation and detoxification. There's high sensitivity lymphocyte response assay for immune intolerance. There's first one in urine pH as a candidate for high sensitivity predictive biomarker and assessment of mineral status and metabolic acidosis. Vitamin D9 is a measure of cell communication and adhesion. The Label-3 index, a measure of the beneficial fats that stimulate repair. Apoxomarine, the measure of oxidation of the nucleus. These four are the candidate high sensitivity biomarkers. And the last, in the upper left of your screen, high sensitivity hemoglobin A1C, the best measure of sugar, insulin, energy efficiency. And when we put these together, the form of qualified the body as high sensitivity predictive biomarkers and the form of our candidates, we have coverage frankly. All the 92% of lifetime health that is under epigenetic or lifestyle control. So, let's move on to the next slide. Lifetime health is 92% choices, And this is what's generally presented. This is from Collegium and other appeared in circulation cardiovascular genetics. And basically it says the genes interact with the epigenome to cause subclinical disease and eventually emerges as cardiovascular disease. And that is the conventional, rather mechanistic understanding, the one that I started with. Well, we see the next slide, and we can reimagine this in a different way. Now what we see is that 8% is genetic. The genetics, of course, are very important. But 92% is choice, epigenetics. And these expressed through predictive biomarkers used to decades before subclinical disease, now we can take action when the problem is smaller and easier to solve. So chronic disease is a marker. Chronic disease helps us know when we're out of balance. And if we understand the particular kind of chronic disease, that allows us the unique opportunity to choose life and to choose habits that enhance and promote life as marked by how long we feel. Because many of us would like to live long and well. However, we first want to feel and function better, work better, maybe appear more handsome or beautiful. And if it's handsome and beautiful that people are looking for, we can help. But if it's quality of life and sustainable well-being, then for sure we can help. Next slide. On each of these slides, you should see a reliable reference. We use my privilege and opportunity to remind you that the evidence base that we must supply. And here, a fundamental concept. Chronic inflammation has been linked to essentially all diseases. Chronic inflammation and chronic disease today almost go together. And we thought what inflammation means. At a physiologic and functional level, inflammation means chronic repair deficit. Yes? If you look at Time magazine, the secret cure, oh my gosh. Look at CFC press, oxidative stress and inflammatory mechanisms. Obesity leading to low syndrome. Just related to diabetes, while projected to be 50 million diabetics in America by 2025, and twice as many pre-diabetics. And if we extrapolate that forward for another generation, we'll be Reinhardt's comment. The colleague who's a health economist from Princeton says, if we continue on this path, everyone will eventually be in the hospital room taking care of the person next to them. That is the sustainable future. We can talk about bending the curve, but we need to really rethink fundamentally how we promote health through public health, how we promote health through incentives for individuals, and how that aggregates into our community, civil society, and social safety net. Next slide. Now here we have an example of how we translate such approaches into practice and action, and this has to do with determining ascorbate need in relation to oxidative stress. Many of us are concerned about oxidative stress and inflammation, but we don't quite know how to get personal, how to get individual, how to address the one need who is sitting in front of us at that moment. And we have established what we call the ascorbate calibration. The ascorbate calibration allows us to use amounts of vitamin C ascorbate, or about 40 buffered and reduced. And if you're healthy, we suggest half a teaspoon or half a gram, or we have grams every 15 minutes, which means 6 grams an hour. And if you're moderately out twice as much, and if you're chronically out twice as much again, so that quickly, if you are deficient in ascorbate, you are able to replenish your ascorbate needs, and then you move forward from that to now that you have enough, you filled up your ascorbate needs inside because you have a flush. You have an evacuation of toxins and extra water from the rectum when ascorbate is topped up in the body. suggest this approach of ascorbic calibration as an individual as well as research quality method for assessing the level of oxidative stress at that time, and they suggest repeating that on a weekly basis until we reach plateau, because many people have to overcome a substantial deficit and that takes time. Next slide. Now here you see how a group of about 5,000 people responded. You see on the far left that some people knew only a little bit. These are the highly healthy people. And notice on the far side how large the numbers getting in grams. Next slide. Now we see it visually on the far left of the screen as you see it. The yellow group are the healthy people, about 5%. They calibrate on less than 12 grams. Now we got the next group, not only allow, they may calibrate 5 to 10 grams. And then we have 80% of the population calibrating between 11 and 130 grams. And then a few people who need over 130 grams. That's 130,000 milligrams of this individual. And that's the amount of ascorbic people need because of the extent of oxidative stress, which may be today at unprecedented levels, and it may be important to protect people from the chronic and debilitating long-term effects of ascorbic deficiency of chronic inflammation. Next. Now, here is the biomarker I'm going to really focus on. It's homocysteine. The chemical name is derived by young biochemists, so I want you to see that. Next slide. Now, the ground value for homocysteine is less than 6 micromoles per liter. And here you see data from my mountain colleagues about 6 years survival. And notice that if you have, you see on the far right, less than 9 millimoles, you do pretty well. Above that, you don't do so well. And at more than 20 micromoles, you're really in trouble. Next slide. And with a 5-fold difference between less than 9 and more than 20, but we went back to the original data and we reanalyzed, and here's what it says. If you're less than 6, next slide. Thank you. If you're less than 6, you're better off. Next. And it's a 16-fold, much more impressive difference between less than 6 and more than 20. So when you look at the original data, sometimes you're able to extract from it something more even than the original authors saw. These are distinguished colleagues who are looking statistically, and we are looking individually, so we recalibrated the data and we find more power for the individual area. Next. Now, healthy methylation is necessary for cells to move things around. We talk a lot about methylation, both up and down regulation of methylation. It has to do with oxidation and detoxification and transport. If you want to make something more soluble, you have methyl groups. If you want to make it less soluble, you take off methyl groups. And this is where the elective protective mode of cells want to be a little healthier, but in contrast, the survival mode that too many people are in. Healthy methylation relates to cardiovascular and stroke risk, cancer risk, autoimmune disease, and chronic disease risk overall. And that's why we have selected it as a high-sensitivity predictive biomarker. It's a predictive biomarker in its own right, and it's high sensitivity because of what I'll share with you in moments about improved methodology and precision. Now, right here we're seeing one of the sets of cycles and cycles. Please advance 2 rounds so we get the full chart. We see oxidative stress on the top, which has to do with homocysteine to methionine balance, and which relates to transsulfuration and glutathione and all sorts of things. And if I had more time, if I was able to physically be with you, I could walk you through this. But I urge you to come back. If you want some of my slides, just contact me by email. or contact the orbit managers, and we'll do our best to share that with you. Next slide. Homocysteine, let's look at the data in what I think is a more instructive way. Please continue on. And what you see is that if you look at cardiovascular disease risk on the left, and look at probability of living 10 years on the right, there's a direct relationship between the true homocysteine level in your plasma and whether you're living to live 10 years. And if you're less than 6 micromoles, congratulations. And if you're above that, please see us for clinical and therapeutic recommendations. Next slide. So this is the same data. Yes. And now with standard homocysteine testing, current standard is to use VDTA in North America and to use cPMP in Europe. I did not have a chance to check with my colleagues in Beijing as to whether in Beijing they prefer VDTA or CPD at this point. But lots of them have significant limitations that we have just recently confirmed and are about to publish. And the limitation is that you want to run homocysteine in the plasma, but when you drop down, the homocysteine begins to leak out of the red cells and other cells almost immediately, and so you have the true homocysteine in the plasma, and then you have an artifactual increase, an elevation due to leakage from cells, and that is a problem. Next. If the drug problem, we seek a solution. So high sensitivity homocysteine method that we have just introduced eliminates red cell leakage as best we can observe. It makes the high sensitivity homocysteine a more cost-effective, a more predictive, a more evidence-based, and a more usual and customary procedure for routine clinical work. And on the right you see an image of one of our technicians holding a tube that has the normal anticoagulant cell presented. You can see some data. Well, I'm actually going to present a little bit of our original data now, and this compares the EDTA in black bars with the new EAB cell preservative anticoagulant. And what you notice, if you look at the far left, which is just half an hour after the specimen was drawn, you see a significant, that is less than 0.001 p-value difference between EDTA that's higher and the new preservative that is old. Now let's look at 4 hours and 8 hours and 24, 48, 72, and 96 hours. Notice that the EDTA tube continues to leak and the values go up over time. But notice that at half an hour, 4 hours, 8 hours, 22 hours, 48 hours, the new cell preservative maintains the same level, true plasma level, so it's more predictive and ready for use. May I endeavor to go beyond 48 hours, and please stay tuned for further bulletins. Next. The problem with EDTA as it exists, and even with CPDA, is that it releases homocysteine within minutes after the blood draw. The professional gets some artifact elevation of homocysteine, and we suggest the high sensitivity homocysteine, a specimen that's valuable for days rather than minutes, is more worthwhile, more evidence-based, and appropriate. So we want the reliable, more specific, high sensitivity homocysteine predicted biomarker, and we are eager to share with any colleagues our advances so that this can be more quickly scaled into the general community, both research and practice. Next. Now, what do we do when someone's high sensitivity homocysteine is above the goal value? Now we enrich the carotenoids and B-complex in their diet. We recommend all of the carotenoids, not just one. We also often add liver support with a seldom beta-rich span, a carotene in a few hours time, lysines CoQ10, the natural carotenoids, and we have all of this in a single soft gel for those who are interested in the synergy of benefits. Yes? certain way that's specifically nutritious. So we want a wide variety of carotenoid and B-complex rich foods, eat the most whole and safer forms, so that we get benefits of B1, B3, B6, and B12, but specifically hydroxycobalamin. We want folates and papain and inositol chromium because they were originally considered to be B vitamins, and we have to log back in, which we're doing. Here we go. What we have found is that these cofactors are important, and we only have a clinical profile, which is keep the iron sunshine mellow, not glass clear, that means deficient in nutrients, and not many brown, that means dehydrated. But if the iron is sunshine yellow, like the sun, sunshine yellow, then we have enough of the B vitamins and protective carotenoids to protect the kidneys and the GI tract. Next, the next slide, please. Well, these are available in formulations that we have helped develop, including Plant Vessel Health Iron, which is a high uptake form to be dissolved under the tongue before swallowing of hydroxycobalamin B12, B6, natural folates for healthy methylation. And the liver forte is that masculine soft gel that combines all of the municipal elements that we think work synergistically to help you achieve healthier epigenetic methylation and healthier high sensitivity homocysteine level. Here you see three individuals. We've actually done this with people. Notice that at time 0, left, each of the homocysteine values was higher, and after just 3 months, notice the reduction of homocysteine in each of the 3 individual or anecdotal cases reported. The difference is significantly less than the B0.05 level, and we're pleased to report that we are building our database one person at a time in order to show that when we have healthy intake of the right kinds of nutrients in their high bioavailability forms and in proper combinations, we get safer and more effective outcome results. Next. In the prescription, which might be what a professional would recommend to their patient, primarily supplements might include PrEP, mental health guide, Medicine-2014, PrEP Life, a mini-calcium novel delivery system that has really active constituents in a super multi, the PrEP potency guide that we used in our CA plans as well as for daily ascorbate meat intake, and the magnesium with choline citrate that enhances magnesium uptake because black magnesium uptake is routine as a predisposing cause to metabolic acidosis that makes everything else work. And then sometimes people need better repair. If somebody had a cook repair diet, sometimes they need meals that are easy to digest, assimilate, and immunity, and we have a cook laser repair to meet that need. Then we have recycled gluten to help repair and protect the gut. You can do a pack diet. We recommend fermented foods, but also probiotics, such as digestive, 10 different strains of immunoimplantable organisms ready for population of a healthy digestive tract. So these are the kinds of recommendations we make in practice. To review, we would recommend a super multi like PrEP Life vitamin capsules. We would recommend a high purity, fully buffered and reduced PrEP potency powder and tablets. We would recommend polyphenolics such as PrEP Repair Guard and PrEP Guide Repair Meals. We would recommend Percodil PAC if digestive repair and intestinal repair is needed. We would recommend PrEP Med Plus Guide and choline citrate if there's evidence of metabolic acidosis and black amino deficiency. And of course, fermented food, prebiotics and probiotics with vital organisms, including PrEP digestive diet, so that at least 40 billion healthy probiotic organisms a day come in from food and water. your plate and what you put on it and where it comes from, and then we supplement if and as needed. So garlic, ginger, onions, green sprouts, and onions. The abbreviation is GG, O-B-E. Garlic, ginger, onions, broccoli, sprouts, beans. Whether or not these should be a staple in the diet. When we have garlic, it's a whole ground, often roasted. When we have ginger, it's a important part, it's not just a condiment, it's a staple. Next. So, if you are at your healthiest value, less than 6 micrograms per meal, we say congratulations, and let's retest several times a year to make sure you stay at that healthier, least risk kind of value. If you need supplements, we recommend that you take them as needed, as documented, on top of a diet that you can digest, assimilate, and eliminate without any burden. But thinking and doing is as important as eating and drinking. So yes, it's important that we eat and drink well, but it's important that we think and act equally well. So we recommend 30 minutes on alternating days doing cardio and weight-bearing activities, and at least 20 minutes of relaxation response and mindfulness active meditation on a daily basis. I came, some of you know, as a skeptic to this field, and I found such value that I really changed my own life and my scientific focus, and I'm happy to share with you that after decades, we are more excited than ever to begin together the transition from sick care to health care. Next. So with healthy ventilation, we have healthy B-complex. There's lots of data that says this is a good thing. Here we see that some of the data that looks at non-risk and a 5-year mortality level, including a non-equivalent system that you will have a true measure. Next. If you're concerned, say, about forgetfulness and senility, and I'm old enough that if I forget a word, I'll begin to around. And it turns out the higher the level system is, the more risk you have of senility or premature forgetfulness. And the lower the level system, the lower risk, and the difference is twofold between 6.5 micromorals and 15 micromorals. So these are substantial opportunities that we can now put into clinical practice. Next. Next. Now, there's also an important aspect of the immune defense and repair, and the immune tolerance test, the high sensitivity lymphocyte response, let's say by United covers that. Next. It is comprehensive, it is functional, and it is ex vivo. It does not measure the histaminic type 1 reaction, but it does measure the type 2, the type 3, and the type 4 reactions, so that you get antibody immune complex and T-cell responses in one concurrent, one-cell, autologous ex vivo assay. So we're able to use the patient's own plasma and all the other cellular constituents along with the lymphocytes, so that the reaction happens in our monomicrotomic chamber, in our cell culture chamber. The reaction happens just as the immune reactions happen inside the body. And that gives us more predictive information. As some of you know, we've done successful outcome pilot studies in both types of diabetes, and fibromyalgia, and adrenal dysfunction, etc. And we have over 70,000 cases, over 20 million cell cultures under our laboratory belt. And we are confident that this is a tool that's ready for clinical practice to determine the tolerance and intolerance of an individual's immune defense and repair system. Next. Let's summarize the aspects of what we're talking about. Please just keep adding on if you will. We see the high sensitivity hemoglobin A1C is not that to be less than 5% to prevent your platelets from being sticky. We want the high sensitivity C-reactive protein to be less than 0.5, indicating that we're able to repair and have less inflammation. We want endothelial dysfunction and nitrous oxide to be our friend and our enemy. we want high sensitivity homocysteine to be less than 6. We also want to avoid PCOS, MF, and AFLD and NASH syndrome. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, my pathology colleagues, and I'm a government certified clinical laboratory pathologist, my pathology colleagues tell me that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease has become endemic, even beyond epidemic today in modern society, and my colleague Richard Johnson has linked that to fructose intake. The fructose, the healthier the liver, the more fructose, the unhealthier the liver, and this is only isolated fructose, not fruit sugar with pectin, but isolated fructose is a major predisposing cause of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in our opinion. You want to keep your first one, you want to keep your HSLA tolerance, you want your immune defensive system to be working with you and attacking you. You want your first running out pH to be 6.5 to 7.5, indicating enough minerals that make you bring down the nutrition and enhance detoxification. You want your vitamin A to be 50 to 80 nanograms per ml. That reduces your reactive oxygen species. You want it out just a little bit of O3, but not too much, and you want to keep it controlled. You want your omega-3 index and alloxylvitamin to be low. You want your omega-3 index to be over 15, so that we bring together all of these high-sensitivity predictive biomarkers to minimize abdominal fat, to reduce oxidized blood fats, and the aggregate of all of these few tests, the 5A tests that qualify today as high-sensitivity predictive biomarkers, are the ones that can add life to years and years to life. Next. These are the 8 that we recommend, starting on the upper left, the high sensitivity hemoglobin A1C, following along to the right, the high sensitivity C-reactive protein, below that, the high sensitivity homocysteine, below that, the high sensitivity LMA active immune tolerant. We also suggest 4 candidate high sensitivity predictive biomarkers, first on the line pH, vitamin D, 25-hydroxy-D, omega-3 index, and alloxylvitamin. And taken together, these allow you to assess the 92% of your lifetime health that's under your choice and control, and we want you to choose health. We want you to choose it wisely and well, based on evident and good experiential clinical material. Next. I have been referencing some of the chapters and review articles we've written on this subject. I hope you will find those of interest. And we welcome suggestions and critique. So inflammation we have reached out to remove repair glass. And we do this because inflammation is spread to so many other conditions like autoimmune disease and arthritis, for example, and diabetes, and also cardiovascular diseases, and cancers, and pulmonary diseases, and neurologic diseases, and such as Alzheimer's syndrome, and prion diseases. We're working with Executive Valley to link prion diseases and metabolic disorders to inflammation, so that by rethinking inflammation with repair deficit, we can open up clinical and therapeutic opportunities to feel and function better, with inflammation recognized now as linked to essentially all chronic illness, and with inflammation rethought as repair deficit, we have opportunities rather than dangers. Next. So, we want to experience life, and while experience life trumps theory, these are some of the scientific giants on whose shoulders I have the pleasure of standing. I leave it to you to look at who they are, and please continue on. We want to combine hope with human touch and scientific evidence. Then we go by results for each individual as well as for the groups. There are governing systems There is an integrative science. We suggest that after 20 to 30 quality years of personalized risk and resilience, then we can talk about outcomes. We suggest these biomarkers are measures of our control systems, and therefore very important opportunities to apply and practice high-level health, primary prediction, primary prevention, and these predictive biomarkers. What's lowers the cost of care and improves outcomes. It is time to apply what we know, to remove obstacles to recovery, to do that systematically for individuals, and to show them that they can be helpful and helpful for themselves. They don't have to be helpless and hopeless. Yes. So the next big thing I suggest are high sensitivity predictive biomarkers, HSPB, the personalized care, so that you can predict ahead how things will go over the next 10 years. Do you rather more than 99% chance of living well or less than 20% chance? It really is a matter of choice rather than chance. So let's use the 92% for healthier habits, and let's show people that as they feel on the inside, so they will look on the outside. You know, our beauty, I think, is a quick link to help people understand that they can look better, because I don't know how to feel better, but they don't look better. And I have gone on 300 years of age. I am a living example of this. I'm able to say that after many years of trial and otherwise, this literally seems to work. Because it's certainly said an essential predictive biomarker test so that you can determine your functional age. Even though the A1T, CRP, homocysteine, and IRA were only at HS high sensitivity 1, we have specific recommendations of which leverage on example a convenience test, particularly well, and what the program should be for each of them. Yes. We have the 4 candidates biomarkers. These are the first on pH, and the lead 25 hydroxycholylcalciferol, 20 omega-3 index, the lead 6-to-3 ratio, and the acid-binding, a measure of nuclear oxide beta stress. And for us to implement that brings into completeness of the high sensitivity predictive biomarkers, HSPB for short, we hope you like that acronym, HSPB. The high sensitivity predictive biomarkers we share with you, so that you too can have the same both research and clinical experiences that we do. That ill health is a marker that helps us restore, maintain good health. Next. So, my privilege, I want to thank again Professor Jaffe, all of you who have come from Maryland Lab to advance the cause of doing well and doing it through science as well as practice, doing it for individuals and for populations, and may we all be well and happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Russell Jaffe, for this wonderful presentation in the name of the audience here in Beijing.
I enjoy your presentation. I watched on CNN some 2 months ago that long-term usage of vitamins did not increase the lifespan of a U.S. population. And in your talk, you refer to vitamin B, D, and so on and so forth. So would you comment on, and I think it was not a person's idea, there was a long-term study. So as an outsider, would you comment on what's going on here? Thank you.
Yes, very important question. Thank you for asking that. With specific regard to vitamin D, I would suggest you contact Dr. Mike Howard, vitamin D expert and microbiologist, and what he points out with the studies that use less than 800 vitamin D large scale, that people need more than we thought before, because vitamin D turns out to be a more hormone, not just a vitamin. Which is have to be complex. The stimulation. When I look at the data, when long-term studies fail on high-dose supplements, the high-dose supplement is only relevant to daily values. It's only relevant deficiency markers. If you want to know how much a person needs of these functional, say, B vitamins, or collateral, you need to do functional measures. When I was a young scientist, I was told that all you need was your daily value like all the way. And I learned that helps protect me from kwashiorkor, pellagra, and other similar serious deficiency diseases, which I want no one to ever have. But it turns out the amount we need that Trelawski defined as optimal, but Roger Williams defined as biochemically individual, and those amounts can be substantially higher. And unfortunately, most of the approved studies long-term were done on what I would consider modest doses at best, and deficient doses often, not intentionally, but our understanding has evolved. And I would very much appreciate, sir, the opportunity to continue our conversation, but I know that the meeting wants to go on, and I thank you for that question. There's an addition I would like to make, which is several studies have recently shown that pharmacologic control of, say, blood sugar is not effective, whereas lifestyle control of blood sugar to the same level is preventive, is helpful. So I am those probably a minority at this point, but I'm getting a minority that becomes a majority often enough. But I am concerned that can force the pharmacologically to do something, achieve a desirable outcome chemically, and from not have the same results as a physiologic or more biologic approach. I favor the biologic and physiologic first. We use the pharmacologic as needed. We get better results and fewer side effects that way, because when we have all of the essential nutrient needs met, we're more likely to have benefit from the pharmaceutical and less side effects. On the other hand, when you have deficiencies that are lost or undetected, well, in my experience, you get more side effects than benefit. So very complex question, very important question to ask, a very brief answer, but I appreciate very much the thoughtfulness of the question.
Thank you very much, Professor Russell Jaffe. I can see that our connection will be disconnected in 1 minute. So I would like to thank you here from Beijing. And you mentioned personalized medicine, evidence-based medicine, prevention in medicine. I think these terms are the future in medicine, and they are important not only for the US, but also for us in Europe, and also in Asia. We all have the same problems with lifestyle diseases, diabetes, obesity, and so on. And I would like to thank you very much. Greetings to Singapore.